Sophie, sweetie pie, what are we doing? Why are we here? What are we doing?
Yeah, I'm here to talk to you about your life in film as you get the AFI Life Achievement Award.
Well, wait a second, really, you did interview me once, didn't you?
No, I've never interviewed you before. We'll see how it goes.
Well, I'll do my best, sweetie.
Me too. Growing up, we were always exposed to art, and that was a big, important part of our childhood. But this morning you were telling me that your parents didn't show you art, visual art.
Visual art, paintings and pictures, and I had no experience or exposure to that whatsoever, but because my family were all musicians. And so I had been to operas, I had been to Broadway musical. We had a free pass to get into the Radio City musical because my uncle was the conductor and my father was the chief arranger there. I must have been about 11 and my brother's 16, and we went on his 16th birthday to see a show on Broadway, which was Sigmund Romberg's The Desert Song. This musical story about a mysterious leader who was called the Red Shadow. He was undefeatable and he was leading these freedom fighters and the French commander. And it turned out that he was the son of the French commander who was the coward.
Oh, it's Darth Vader.
And I just was transformed by that.
Is that what started your road into theater?
Well, you know, I was a boy scientist. So I thought if I would volunteer my science over at the theater department, and then up there hanging the lights, I would look down on the floor and see that the director was telling people where to stand and what to do. So I could do that. So I decided that I could be a director.
But how did you end up in film, being a theater person?
I was just sitting in the campus, and I noticed in a little building that was called the Little Theater, they said, "Today only, Sergei Eisenstein's October, 10 Days That Shook the World." And for 4 hours, I saw this film, and I had never seen anything like it. It transported you, and even though there was no sound, you heard it. The way it was edited, you heard machine guns and you heard crowds. It was astonishing. So I came out of that and I said, holy moly, I'm not gonna make theater, I'm gonna make like that.
So then you went to UCLA, and I know you talk about Dorothy Arnner as being
She was the
your
best.
teacher.
Miss Arnner was my directing teacher, and she was the only woman director in Hollywood for a good 20, 30 years. One night I was very depressed. I said, "Miss Arnner, I'm just miserable. I think I'm gonna quit." She looked at me and she said, "You'll make it. I've been around and I know." So I'm directing Finian's Rainbow, and I look over in the corner and there's a kid in a sweater. He said, "I go to USC and I won a scholarship to come and observe." So I said, "Tell you what, you're welcome to come here on one condition." And he says, "Well, what's the condition?" I said, "Well, it's that you come up with a brilliant idea every day." And he did.
Did he?
He did. And that's how I met the great George Lucas. And then we cooked up the idea of starting a company together. The only trick was to come up with a name. George suggested that we called it the Trans-America Sprocket Works. And I ended up wanting to call it an American Zoetrope.